Oh, right. Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping into this amazing story from the Buddhist scriptures. It's basically a masterclass in how to win an argument without even making one.
I mean, think about it. How do you actually prove a point without making a single claim yourself? It sounds kind of impossible, right? But that's exactly what we're going to see. It's this incredible technique of just asking questions and letting someone else's flawed logic just completely fall apart on its own. Okay, so our story kicks off with this really unlikely meeting between two totally different people. The Buddha, of course, and a wanderer, a spiritual thinker named Sakuludāyī. So just imagine the scene. The Buddha's walking up to this monastery, and you'd expect, peace and quiet. But no, he finds total chaos. There's this huge group of debaters and thinkers just making a dreadful racket, as the text says. It is the exact opposite of a mindful place. And wow, the contrast here is just so stark. You've got the wanderers over here, just chattering away about, everything. Kings, armies, food, gossip, you name it. All this fleeting worldly stuff. And then, on the other side, you have the Buddha, who's known for valuing quiet. Cūḷasakuludāyī sees him coming and he's like, shh, everybody quiet down. He's hoping that if they're silent, the Buddha will come over and talk to them.
So Cūḷasakuludāyī is pretty impressed at first. He starts talking about how some other teacher couldn't answer questions about the past or the future. But the Buddha? He's not interested in that kind of stuff. He completely sidesteps those big abstract debates about what was or what might be. Instead, he brings it all back to something much more fundamental, much more practical. And what he offers to teach instead is this core principle, the engine of his entire philosophy. You might have heard of it, dependent origination. It boils down to this. When this exists, that is. Due to the arising of this, that arises. And the flip side, when this doesn't exist, that is not. Basically, it's a universal law of cause and effect. The Buddha's saying, forget all that speculation. Let's look at how things actually work right here, right now.
But, Cūḷasakuludāyī finds this all a little abstract. So he switches gears and offers up his own tradition's big idea for the Buddha to look at. And oh boy, this is where the real fun begins. So what's Cūḷasakuludāyī's big teaching? It's this. He just keeps repeating, this is the ultimate splendor. This is the ultimate splendor. That's it. That's the whole teaching. So naturally, the Buddha asks, okay, but what is this ultimate splendor you're talking about? And all Cūḷasakuludāyī can do is repeat the same empty phrase. It's a claim with absolutely no definition.
And this is where the Buddha just pulls out this brilliant, so simple analogy to show how silly this is. He says, look, it's like a man who claims he's in love with and desires the finest, most beautiful lady in the whole country. Okay, great. But then you ask him, so what's her name? What family is she from? He has no idea. Well, is she tall, short, medium height? Nope, doesn't know. What about her skin? Is it black, brown, tawny? Still nothing. And then the final question. So you're telling me you desire someone you have never, ever seen or known? And the man says, yes. See? It perfectly shows that the man's desire, just like Cūḷasakuludāyī's ultimate splendor, is totally baseless. It's just an empty idea with nothing behind it. So now Cūḷasakuludāyī's cornered, right? He tries to give a real answer. He says, okay, splendor. It's like a polished beryl gem. But the Buddha just methodically tears this apart. He asks, all right, but what's finer, a gem or a firefly glowing in the dark? Well, the firefly, Cūḷasakuludāyī has to admit. And what's finer than a firefly? An oil lamp. And on it goes, up this ladder of splendor, from an oil lamp to a great fire, from the fire to the morning star, then the full moon, and finally all the way up to the sun at midday. With every single step, the Buddha reveals that Cūḷasakuludāyī's so-called ultimate splendor isn't ultimate at all. There's always something finer. And this, to me, is just a huge moment of intellectual honesty. Cūḷasakuludāyī doesn't double down or get defensive. He just comes right out and says it. When pursued, pressed, and grilled on our own tradition, we turned out to be vacuous, hollow, and mistaken. He admits it.
His core teaching has completely crumbled under just a few simple questions. It was empty from the start. But he's not quite done yet. Cūḻasakuludāyī brings up another central part of his tradition for the Buddha to examine, their path to what they call a perfectly happy world. Cūḻasakuludāyī's path has two main parts. First, follow basic ethics, don't kill, don't steal, you know the drill, and second, practice self-denial or mortification. So the Buddha asks this really simple, direct question about both. Okay, when you are actually doing these things, is your personal experience one of perfect, unmixed happiness? And Cūḻasakuludāyī has to be honest. He says, no, it's a mix of pleasure and pain. And there it is. The Buddha just lays the logical trap bare. He asks, essentially, how can you possibly hope to achieve a state of perfect happiness by using a method that is itself a mixture of pleasure and pain? The cause doesn't lead to the effect. It just doesn't make sense. And once again, for the second time, Cūḻasakuludāyī is forced to the exact same conclusion. His teachings are vacuous, hollow, and mistaken. At this point, with both pillars of his tradition turned to dust, he is completely humbled. He's finally ready to stop defending his views and just asks the Buddha, okay, please, teach me your path. This is the big pivot in the whole conversation. The takedown is over, and now the Buddha starts to build up his own teaching, and it's so far beyond what any of the wanderers were expecting. So the Buddha starts by explaining his path to a perfectly happy world, which involves these incredibly deep states of meditation. But then he drops a bombshell. He says that even achieving this perfectly happy world isn't the final goal. And that's what makes the whole assembly cry out, in that case, we're lost. They realize that the highest state they could even imagine is just a stepping stone for the Buddha. Their entire map of reality is just wrong. So what are these finer things the Buddha is pointing to? They're not just about feeling good or happy. This is about profound, direct knowledge. It's about being able to recollect your own past lives in detail. It's about seeing for yourself how karma works, how beings are reborn according to their actions. And ultimately, it's about the knowledge of how to end suffering itself, right at the root. This all leads to the ultimate freedom, where you can say, rebirth is ended. There is nothing further for this place. It's the end of the line. Now, Cūḻasakuludāyī is completely sold. He's ready to go. But the story takes this one last, really tragic twist. I mean, he's just seen his entire worldview get logically dismantled. And then he's been shown a path that is so much deeper and more profound. So he's all in. He says, excellent, sir, I go for refuge. Sir, may I receive the ordination? He wants to give up his old life right then and there and become a monk under the Buddha. But then his own followers step in and stop him. And they use this incredibly powerful metaphor. They say, don't do it. A water jar is this big, respected thing that holds all the water. A ladle is just a little scoop you use to serve from the jar. What they're really saying is, you're a great teacher, a water jar. Don't demote yourself to being a mere student, a ladle. Think about your status. Think about your pride. And just like that, it works. The appeal to his ego, to his social position, is enough. Even though he was intellectually convinced, the social pressure from his own people was just too much for him to break away from. And the story just leaves us hanging there with this really powerful universal question. Cūḻasakuludāyī saw the truth. He admitted his own path was a dead end, and yet he walked away. It really makes you ask yourself, doesn't it? How many times in our own lives does our pride, our status, or just the fear of what other people might think hold us back from a path we know deep down is a better one?